Hey, Shalom, Makim, Shalom. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praise, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us His truth and also teaching His truth. And much peace, love, and salutation to the elect, beginning with the 144,000, all the way down to the large multitude that believes and who the Lord will deliver in these last days. To you all I say Shalom. I'm the brother Tazamah from the Great Millstone Dallas camp, coming back today with another lesson, and I pray this lesson will be edifying to the elect. And Salakia, just hold on one moment. I actually dropped something. Just give me 1 second. All right, Salakia for that delay. But once again, I wanted to do a lesson on this article that you see here on the screen. This is from the peoplesvoice.tv, and the title reads, it says, Chicago mayor urges citizens to rise up and fight Trump's National Guard in the streets. All right, let's read that again. It says Chicago mayor urges citizens to rise up and fight Trump's National Guard in the streets. All right, and we definitely believe and know, that this is just more so a move by the elite to invoke, more insurrection, upon people in the world, specifically like in Chicago, because we all, everybody knows Chicago as being, they call it Chirac, you know what I'm saying? And, Chicago is known for its crime, it's so-called gang affiliations, as well as a lot of these, a lot of Jake out there, YNs as they call them, young niggas, that's out there in Chicago that be acting a fool. So Trump is mobilizing, the National Guard in these particular cities, like he just did it in DC. He federalized the police, and he's talking about federalizing the police in he said he wanted to mobilize 1,900 National Reserves of servicemen in 19 states. You see, and this mayor, which is controlled opposition, which the scripture says, let me get a precept. The scripture says that we're not ignorant of Satan's devices. All right, because this is nothing more than a move by the elite to invoke more chaos to ultimately push forth order, as the saying is, or the slogan, ordo ab chaos, order out of chaos. All right, this is 2 Corinthians 2:11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us. Right? It says, for we are not ignorant of his devices. You see, we're not ignorant, of Satan's schemes. When we say Satan, we're not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. All right, we're talking about his physical counterpart here on the planet Earth, which are in the likes of the Edomites here, man. As the scripture says, let Satan be at his right hand, which, that was alluding to Judas Iscariot, whenever he betrayed Yahushua. But at the same time too, Satan, the spiritual counterpart Satan is working with the physical counterpart of the Edomites on the planet. They've come to do the bidding of Satan. That's why the scripture says who's coming is after the working of Satan, with all power, signs, and lying wonders in 2 Thessalonians 2. Okay, so we're not ignorant of his schemes to ultimately try to push forth his new world order. Okay, and Chicago, man, Chicago is a rough city, man. Which if the mayor is urging citizens to rise up, that's just going to give the military and the police and things of that nature more power to be more lethal, which is ultimately what they wanted the end game. Okay, so it says Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson openly urged defiance and unrest, declaring on MSNBC Sunday that his constituents would quote unquote rise up in the streets if President Trump sends the National Guard to clean up crime. Okay, it says remarks that sounded less like a policy stance. Remarks that sounded less like a policy stance and more like a call for violence and insurrection against federal authority. Okay, man, it says let me get this real quick, because not insurrection of the workers of iniquity, because that's going into, we'll actually get that, because once again, this guy right here, the mayor, is nothing more than just he's controlled opposition. He's being told what to do. Okay, because the insurrection of the everyday people is going to turn into insurrection against Jake. Because Chicago is more of a Jake, it's more of a Jake area. Okay, this is Psalm 64 verse 2. Then we'll get 2 Ezra 15 here in a second. All right, it says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. And what's some of the secret counsel that they have? The secret counsel of the wicked goes into, these particular committees that they have, the Trilateral Commission. You have the WEF, the World Economic Forum. You have these particular meetings that they have behind closed doors that are not, that are pretty much not open to the public. They have their meetings in Davos, Switzerland, and many more. There's all kinds of hidden councils and things of that nature that take place, and it's all aimed at Jake. It's all aimed at how they can take Jake down, as it says in Psalm 83. All right, it says that, well, matter of fact, we'll grab that here in a second. It says, hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. It says, from the insurrection, and that word insurrection means uprising, of the workers of iniquity. And who are the main workers of iniquity? All right, the global elite of the house of Edom. Okay, like it says in Psalm 83, the inward thought is that their houses shall continue for, I Psalm 49:11, but they want to cut us off from being the people. That's what I was thinking of. They want to cut us off from being the people. That's their ultimate end game. Okay, verse 3, it says, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. And that word whet means to sharpen. They sharpen their tongues like a sword. And this is nothing more than this individual right here, this Jake, who's the mayor of Chicago, all right, urging citizens to rise up, which he's doing the bidding of the elite. Once again, he's being told what to say. He's being told what to do. Okay? And this lines right up with 2 Ezra, the 15th chapter. Let's get that real quick. 2 Ezra 15. Let me actually just go back here. There it is. This is 2 Ezra 15. And let's see. 2 Ezra 15 and 16. It says, let me start at verse 15. It says, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. And what's the modern day sword? The modern day sword is a gun. Okay? And there's all kinds of swords and guns in Chicago. All kinds of gangs. You got the Vice Lords, you got the GDs. Which GD is an acronym for Gangster Disciples. It says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. And sedition means division. It says, they shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their action shall stand in their power. Okay? It says that the course of their action shall stand in their power, man. Which is ultimately what this mayor is calling out for. It says, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able, because you're going to have all kinds of agent provocateurs out there as well, causing more mayhem and more riots and things of that nature, smashing and grabbing, vandalizing, police equipment like police cars and things of that nature, throwing tear gas and throwing rocks and things of that nature. That's all they need. That's all they need. All they need is they need, quote unquote, justification to be able to bring down the sword with more wrath. You see, so let some shit pop off in Chicago. That's just going to give Donald Trump the authority, which that's all that they want. All that they're looking for, I rather say. That's going to give him the authority to use the sword in a more lethal way. Okay, because right now still, it is getting heavy. All right, but the kid gloves to a degree are still on. And Jake is going to fully know. All right, whenever this devil really shows forth his horns, man. All right, he said we're going to remain firm. We'll take legal action, but the people in the city are accustomed to rising up against tyranny. If that's necessary, I believe that the people of Chicago will stand firm alongside of me as I work every single day to protect the people of this city. And once again, this dude he's controlled opposition. He's being told what to say. All right, the elite told this Jake, go out there, get your ass out there, and make a proclamation that that the citizens are going to rise up. And he said, Khan out of one. That's exactly what he said to his elite masters. His controllers, for lack of better words. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and play a part of this audio here. Lord willing, y'all can hear it. But this is from Here's the clip right here.
And so, look, we're going to remain firm. We'll take legal action. But the people of this city are accustomed to rising up against tyranny. And if that's necessary, I believe that the people of Chicago will stand firm alongside of me as I work every single day to protect the people of this city.
See that? And you notice that, you notice that you have the 6-pointed star in the background. You have a 5-point star and you have a 6-pointed star. And let me just do this real quick. I'm gonna say what is the meaning of the 6-pointed star and symbolism. It says the 6-pointed star, most commonly called the hexagram, has carried many different symbolic meanings across cultures, religions, and esoteric traditions. Its meaning depends heavily on the context it is used in. Here are the main layers of symbolism. And then you have Judaism, which says the Star of David, which we know that to be the Star of Molech. All right, because there's no account of King David having a shield with a 6-pointed star on it. Okay, but it says occult, alchemy, and esoteric traditions, which occult means hidden. I did a lesson on that. Occult means like secret or like hidden, a hidden counsel. Okay, that's what occult literally means, like a hidden agenda or a hidden counsel. Just as you have an occult on the right hand side, the occult of Yahweh B'Shem Shah, which are the elect, you have an occult on the left hand side, which are the elite. It says in hermetic and hermetic and alchemical symbolism, the two overlapping triangles signify the union of opposites: fire and water, male and female, spirit and matter. Let's see, mystical and magical uses. Let's go down there. Let's look at the mystical and magical uses. It says found in Kabbalah as a representation of the 6 directions of space: north, south, east, west, up and down, with God as the center. Used in some forms of ceremonial magic as a protective or invoking seal. See, let's say can this tie to anarchy? I'm just curious. Maybe not, but let's just see. It says that is a sharp question. The 6-pointed star hexagram isn't traditionally tied to anarchy in the same way the circle A symbol is, which is like the A with the circle. It says, but depending on how you look at it, look at its history and layered meanings, there are ways people connect to a rebellion, disorder, or hidden power structures. You see, rebellion, disorder, or hidden power structures. The hexagram often symbolizes balance, which this really isn't a hexagram, but this is a 6-pointed star, right? It says the hexagon often symbolizes balance, order, and union. Anarchy, on the other hand, is usually seen as a rejection or imposed order. It says so in a symbolic sense. One could say that the perversion or inversion of the hexagram represents the breakdown of harmony into chaos. And that's exactly what the global elite want. They want to produce more order out of chaos. They want to implement more draconian laws, man. Take a look down here. Some anarchists or anti-system thinkers argue that symbols like this represent the hidden ruling order, elites, or spiritual bondage. From that angle, rejecting the 6-pointed star's order could be framed as an act of anarchy and against establishment power. You see that? So, it's always symbolism tied to things that we see. And this 6-pointed star in the background is just not back there as a coincidence. You see, these devils know, these devils are master, warlocks on the left-hand side, So everything that we see them do, whether it be numbers, you may see 3 a lot, like 13 or 33, 6, everything has its meanings and its purposes. It says according to a recent post let me read that again. According to a recent Washington Post article, the Department of Defense has been planning a deployment of National Guard troops to Chicago for several weeks. Okay? And once again, Chicago is a complete war zone out there, man. It's crazy. Like when you go out there, it's like a goddamn, that's why they call it Chirac. It says, in response to President Trump recently calling him a grossly incompetent mayor, Johnson stuttered and accused the president of contemplating the most flagrant violation of our Constitution in the 21st century. He also claimed that Trump is attempting to conquer cities across America. And what does that mean? That means martial law. Okay? That means that what? Revelation 12:12, the devil shall come down with great wrath because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Okay? And we're at that time, man. We're at that time where, things are getting more tight, especially coming up in here into the fall and winter time. You see? Let's play this.
What the president is claiming that he wants troops to do, they don't even have the authority to do it. They have no arresting powers.
The mayor responding to President Donald Trump, who said he'll be expanding National Guard deployments to cities other than Washington.
Chicago's a mess. You have an
Look at that man's hat.
incompetent
Trump
mayor.
was right. It says Trump was right about everything, and that's the pride of these devils, man. That's the pride of Esau, man. This man Donald J. Trump is in office going in.
Grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this.
The president's Oval Office comments come as Chicago police data shows overall crime since the first of the year is down 13% compared to the same period last year, and violent crime is down 23%.
I think he wants to provoke violence, because if he can provoke violence, then it's going to be martial law.
Boom! There it is, right there. If he can provoke violence, see. Exactly what this is exactly what we've been saying, beginning with our apostles on down. If they can provoke violence, then it will be martial law. Okay, and this scripture has been coming out a lot lately, man. Jeremiah 5 and 6. Let's get that real quick. Jeremiah 5 and 6. What's my name? Slacky, I was in damn. My fault. Jeremiah 5 and 6. It says, wherefore a lion out of the forest shall slay them, and a wolf of the evening shall spoil them. A leopard shall watch over their cities. And that leopard that's going to watch over their cities are these troops. Everyone that goeth out thence shall be torn in pieces. And that's ultimately what's coming, man. When they set up these blockades and you can't enter and exit, they really get these 15-minute cities established. They have these curfews. You have anarchy out here in these streets, people rising up against the government. That's when the authority is going to be given for this devil to really use lethal force and really use his sword and get down, man. It says, because their transgressions are many and their backslidings are increased. You see, and this is ultimately happening because Jake, man, the transgression of our people. So now Yahweh Bashim Shai is sending the sword after Jake, man. Deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword, as it says in Psalm 17. You see? So we here, man. You heard what the guy said. Let's run that back. Let's run that back.
Because if he can provoke violence, then it's going to be martial law.
Boom.
Burning the federal military on American citizens is a sign of authoritarianism.
The president claiming
it's a sign of authoritarians, man. And what does the scripture say in Revelation 13? All right, he had two horns like a lamb, but he spake as a dragon. That word dragon in the Greek is a drakon. Okay? Drakon. And when you get the time, look up draconian law. Look up draconian measures, man. Draco. Draco goes back to an Athenian lawgiver who pretty much passed harsh laws. That was even, some of them was even formidable to death. Or permittable, to death. These are the times that we're living in right now, man. Remember the scripture says what? At the end it shall speak and not lie, man. We're here.
many in Chicago want the Guard.
Screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. But they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago.
Thank you, President Donald Trump, for
Look
hearing.
at this nigga. Who the hell is this? This is a guy. Is this a man or a woman? Who is this? Oh, Lord.
Us.
Zoe Lee and Daniel Carter Walters founded the conservative group Chicago Flips Red and says despite CPD's numbers, many don't feel safe.
And if the Democrat Party, only thing
Oh,
they can
Lord.
do to help us is tell us crime is down,
Yeah, look at
then
this.
hey.
Come on now. What is this? What is this?
We welcome the national.
The black woman is out of order. She's completely out of order and gone. Man, goddamn, you see? But you see how you see it's that tandem that Stockton and Malone. You see that's that pick and roll combo. Never fails until they ran into Michael Jordan. All right. So yeah, man, it's clear as day, man. It's clear as day what they're getting ready to do. You know, this is definitely order out of chaos, and they're provoking. You know, they're provoking insurrection so that they can. They're provoking insurrection so that they can be justified in using the sword, man. So I just want to do a quick lesson on this. I pray this lesson was edifying to the elect. Once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, great millstone that taught us his truth, and that's what teaching is truth, and much peace, love, and salutation to the elect. Until next time, I say shalom.